Hotties. Welcome back to Hotties with the Plotties. My name's Taja.
And I'm Daniqua.
Today we are bringing you part 2 of a juicy plot with our 2 sons mixed in. You are joining us for season 1, episode 6, where Daniqua is getting into part 2 of The Housemaid by Frieda McFadden.
Indeed, indeed. So if you have not already seen part 1, go click on that video first.
Yes.
And then we will be jumping into part 2. But before we do, here's our disclaimer, as always, that listening to us is not a replacement for reading the book. In fact, we encourage you to read the book either before or after listening to us to enhance your overall experience with the story. Under fair use, we will be summarizing and giving you our commentary. But as we do, bear in mind that it is always easier to criticize than it is to create. So, no matter our thoughts, we encourage you to experience the story for yourself.
Let's go. Let's get into part 2.
We got to get into part 2. So as a reminder of where we left off.
Yes, okay.
We're doing The Housemaid by Frieda McFadden, part 2 of the book.
So Millie got her man, she got her house.
Yes.
But then she got locked in the attic.
Yes. We've got Millie, the housemaid. Nina, the wife who hired Millie.
Yes.
We have Andrew, Nina's husband, who has fallen in love with Millie.
Love.
Yeah. He's fallen in something. They've had a lot of sex.
Yeah,
They've
fell
had
into her.
Quite a bit of sex.
Okay.
Who else do we have? We have the gardener, Enzo, who was speaking mysterious Italian at the beginning of the book, but then at the end of part 1 was speaking clear English.
You're in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what?
Exactly.
Okay.
So now we're in part 2 of the book where things get really bonkers.
Okay.
This section is from Nina's perspective, and it is divided into steps. So it's like step 1, step 2,
Girl.
step 3. And let me just say, Frieda McFadden is so good at writing outlandish scenarios.
Okay.
Because there simply ain't no way I can imagine any of this happening to me. But anyways, how to get rid of your sadistic, evil husband.
See, okay.
A guide by Nina Winchester.
I have been getting vibes that Andrew is off. Just going to throw it out there.
And that's the title of part 2. Okay. It's like a how-to guide with steps. And it's how to get rid of your sadistic, evil husband. A guide by Nina Winchester.
All right.
Step 1, get knocked up by a drunken one-night stand, drop out of school, and take a crappy job to pay the bills.
Okay.
Nina had her daughter, Cecilia, as the result of a one-night stand. And now she has a secretary job for a really mean boss. So we're going back in time.
Sure.
Andrew is her boss's boss back in the day.
Her grand boss.
Her grand boss. And he takes a liking to the young, hot secretary, Miss Nina.
Of course he does.
And they let you know that at this point in time, Nina has a thinner frame.
Okay.
Particularly because he sees her as being victimized by her current boss.
Right. She's a damsel in distress.
Yes. Yeah, and he likes that.
Of course.
And since Nina's direct boss is so mean to her, Andrew sees it as I can come rescue you.
Yeah.
So Andrew and Nina go out on a date and they have a great time.
Okay.
Step 2, naively marry sadistic evil man. They get married and Andrew is just so sweet to her. He adores her. She dyes her hair blonde and wears all white clothing because it pleases him. She changes her entire aesthetic into the bob, blonde, strict bob.
Okay.
He is so sweet to both her and Cecilia. Well, that is, until her roots start to grow out a little bit.
All right.
Just a little bit. Like they mention it's literally 2 centimeters worth of new growth.
Yeah, that's not a lot. Come out. Okay.
She misses one hair appointment and she gets 1 millimeter of dark hair. And as a result of that happening, again, Andrew has been completely lovely to her up until this point. As a result of that, he tricks her into going up into the attic room and he locks her in there with nothing but a cot on the floor and 3 small water bottles on the floor with her.
I can just go to the salon. We don't have to do all this.
He's basically having hair is a privilege. And that's what he says to her through the door. He's like, this is your punishment. Having hair is a privilege, and it's disgusting of you to let your roots show like this.
Jesus Christ.
And she's taken so aback, because again, there has been no indication of this from Nina's perspective. He was my grand boss. He came and sat off my feet. He's so lovely. He's so nice to my daughter, Cecilia. He marries me. He has never showed any sign of being
That's how it always
this.
happens in these books.
It does.
Yep. Okay.
until her roots start to show. And then he's like, oh, hey, come upstairs with me real quick. I want to show you something. And he tricks her into the attic, locks the door, and is telling her through the door, having hair is a privilege, Nina. Yes.
Okay.
Step 3, discover your husband is pure evil. In order for her to learn her lesson, he tells her to pluck out 100 hairs from her head with the root intact. So in case you're thinking of like, oh yeah, no, he needs the root bulb to be intact on each one. And he wants her to place them in an envelope that he has slipped under the door. She thinks he's crazy, but she has no other choice because he's leaving her in there for days with, the water bottles that are like this big. She has 3 of them.
Oh my goodness.
Last for days.
Okay.
No food at all, and she's got like a bucket. So she has no other choice. She's like, I don't know why he's acting this way, but let me just like do this to get out of the room.
Sure.
So she does it. However, when he counts them, he's like, oh, 2 of them are missing the root. You're going to have to start all over again. I need 100 new ones. Not give me 2 to make up for the 2. 100 new ones.
Okay.
So she's like cussing him out. She's like, what's wrong with you? But eventually she like does it because like he's
what else are you going to do?
He's not going to let her out.
Man's crazy.
100 hairs with the root. Once she finally accomplishes that, it's been 2 days and she's out of water. He finally lets her out and takes her to their master bedroom to lie down. He like carries her. He's like, oh, you poor thing. Again, he like switches up. She tells him that like she hates him. She's like so weak though. She's like, I hate you. Like, what is wrong with you? But she's so weak. He carries her and he just laughs it away. He's like, oh, Nina, my darling.
Okay.
And so he's a maniac. He gives her a big cup of water next to her bed and she falls asleep in the bed.
Okay.
Step 4, make the world believe you're crazy.
All right.
Nina wakes up in a daze and she realizes that big cup of water he gave her, he had drugged her water.
Yep.
Her phone has strange messages from him on it. Like she reaches over, looks at her phone, and he was texting her messages like, are you and Cecilia okay? Why aren't you answering your phone? You were acting super weird today. And she's like, what? What is happening? And she also hears the sound of like running water coming from her master bedroom.
Okay. Like
her master restroom, running water. So she like drags herself out of the bed and she like goes to the door of the ensuite and she opens it and she finds Cecilia in the bathtub in a baby chair with the water almost up to her chin. Nina drags herself to the bathtub because again, she's still kind of under the daze of whatever he put in her water. She like drags herself to the bathtub. And she turns the water off, but right as she does that, the police rush in.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And they arrest her for child endangerment. And remember how we found out in the past how she was institutionalized for almost drowning Cecilia?
Well, I feel like we could have investigated this a little more.
A little further.
But okay.
She is hospitalized in a psych facility after that.
Okay.
She spends 8 months there.
Damn.
Here is where we're reminded that things aren't always what they seem. Because during her time in the psych hospital, she admits that she, because they're not going to let her out if she's saying bonkers things.
Yeah, my husband did this.
Exactly. Yeah. That's her story originally. And then she changes it. Sure. She's like, oh, I hallucinated Andrew locking me in the attic. It was a hallucination. She also admits to almost drowning her daughter. She's like, yeah, I did that.
But let's talk about why there's a lock on the outside of this man's attic door.
Right?
Let's talk about that. But okay.
When she is finally released, and so let me back up a second. This part of the book is interesting because the way they frame it, from Nina's perspective, it does make you think for a second that she did hallucinate it. Okay. Because like they frame it in a way that's like, you don't know what's real, Nina.
Unreliable narrator.
You're an unreliable narrator. Okay. So you as the reader, you're like, okay, are we dealing with an unreliable? What's going on here? Yeah. When she is finally released, Andrew and Andrew's mom are, they have to supervise Nina anytime she's with Cecilia now. And they take precautions to monitor her mental health. When she first accused Andrew of locking her in the attic, the police went up to the attic and they find that it's just like filled with books and storage. And previously it was empty with nothing but a bucket and water.
That's crazy. Okay.
And now there's books and dusty books in storage. So it's like, okay, maybe Nina actually is making things up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not at all like an empty torture room like she described. Yeah. So Andrew and Nina's psychiatrist recommend that she go up to the attic to see for herself that it's just a storage room. Yeah. Like this will show you that it was a hallucination.
Sure, seems reasonable.
Andrew's mom makes a comment that they leave the lights on too much. Andrew's mom is like this like mean old lady kind of, which is interesting because if you remember earlier in the book, she had sent the baby stuff to them.
Oh, right.
But you find out that she's kind of crotchety.
Yeah.
She makes this comment.
Well, then it sounds like she did that on purpose to get under Nina's skin.
Maybe. She makes this comment to Nina because apparently, like, as a woman, this is under Nina's jurisdiction in the household. But she's like, you guys are wasting electricity in this house, like always leaving lights on and stuff.
Do you pay our bills, Mom?
Right?
Mind your business.
And that it wastes electricity, to which Nina apologized for being absent-minded. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wouldn't have apologized.
I don't care. Yeah.
It's my lights.
Right.
Finally, Nina is like, fine, therapist and Andrew, I'll go up to the attic to look at it so that'll help me like reconcile with my delusion.
Sure.
So she like, she gets her will up and she goes up to the attic. It's pitch black and she asks Andrew to turn the light on. And when he does, it's so blindingly bright in the room that it takes her a second to make her eyes adjust because it's like so bright. And then she hears the door slam and lock behind her.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
In case you didn't, yeah.
Yep.
So for a second, the book plays around with like, maybe she imagined it. She did not imagine it.
Okay.
He locks her in the room and the light is bright. It is blindingly bright.
Okay.
Step 5, find out you're not crazy after all. Andrew locks her in the room with the blinding light and he tells her light and electricity are a privilege. So again, this is now her punishment for leaving the light on earlier.
This bitch. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can't stand him. Okay.
Yes. As punishment for her leaving the light on, she has to be locked in this room with either she can have complete darkness when the light's off, or she can have blinding light when the light is on. She didn't hallucinate anything. This man is just sadistic, and he set everything up to make her seem mentally unstable.
Okay.
That way, he could control her through custody of Cecilia. Because now he's proven to the police and other officials that, like, look, she's unreliable. She says all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, okay. He
leaves her in there for about 24 hours, and he agrees to let her out under 2 conditions. 1, she can never tell anyone about what he's done to her. And 2, anytime she misbehaves, she will have to come to this room for punishment.
That's wild.
Like, she's like letting her know, like, hey, this is going to be an ongoing part of our relationship.
All right.
When you act up, you're coming up here.
Okay.
Step 6, try to live with it for the sake of not losing your daughter. So for the sake of trying to not lose Cecilia, she lives with his irrational rules. He punishes her like once every other month for ridiculous things.
Sure.
And you can tell he's making things up on purpose because it's got to like scratch an itch for him. He's like, all right, it's been a minute since we did the attic thing.
Yep.
We got to do it. So she tried to bargain with him to let her out of the marriage, and that didn't work either.
Yeah. Why wouldn't that work? Yeah.
So she tries to make herself less attractive to him by gaining more weight, and he still doesn't seem to care.
No, why would he care? He just likes torturing people.
Exactly. She even starts snapping at him and being really like rude and snippy, and he actually like takes enjoyment in watching this transformation in her. Like he finds it almost like comical, like look at what I've turned you into. She even tries to confide in her friends to let them know what's going on, but he's one step ahead of her.
Jesus.
He has told everyone around her about her mental breakdown and to alert him immediately if she starts sounding unstable.
Okay, but she didn't have like friends before this, because if my friend's husband starts being like, okay, look, she's actually crazy, I'm gonna be like, what did you do though?
See, and you have to remember that most of her friends are like from this rich neighborhood and they low-key want her husband.
But like, where are her friends from before she was rich?
I assume that he isolated her from him. Because like she moved away from where she was previously to come live with him in his nice neighborhood. Okay. So I think she's a little isolated from like her.
Yeah, and these people aren't her friends.
Exactly.
Got it.
So he has isolated her from any refuge from him. That is, until she confides in her gardener. She tells Enzo how Andrew locks her in the attic and he tortures her. But she says it under the impression that he can't understand her. She's like, I need to tell somebody, and I don't think Enzo really understands me. So like, just out of nowhere, she's just like, yeah, my husband locks me in the attic and he tortures me.
Okay.
However, we now know that Enzo only pretends to not understand English well to keep the housewives from pestering him.
Mm.
So that's his way of being like, because apparently all the housewives want to like sleep with him. So this is his way of like being like, I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. But he 100% understands her.
Okay.
And he shows huge concern. like his eyes get all big.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
He's the only normal person in this book, apparently.
When Nina realizes that Enzo understands her, she like backtracks and she's like, just kidding. I was just kidding. Never mind. Okay, bye. Later on, Andrew is punishing Nina in the attic for spraying too much air freshener in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So to atone, she has to spray pepper spray in her eyes.
Great.
This is her punishment this time.
Okay.
This leaves her face red and swollen for a couple days. And as she peeks out of the tiny window in the room, she sees Enzo in the backyard and he sees her. They like lock eyes. And again, she's got like red face. Andrew has gone to work. So Enzo rushes up to the attic. But Nina stops him from breaking down the door. He's on the other side of the door, and he's like, you're trapped up there. I'm going to break this down. And she's like, don't. That'll just make things worse.
Okay, but you can literally call the police, and they'll see that you're locked in this room.
Well, he's alerted, like, he's toted this story around a lot, that, like, Nina does irrational things. And then she's constantly worried that he'll play with custody with Cecilia.
Right.
But I agree. I feel like once they see that you're literally locked in the room.
Yeah.
But she points out that Enzo could end up in jail or he could end up deported back to Italy, and she doesn't want to risk custody of Cecilia. But so Enzo's like, fine, I won't break down the door, but he agrees to help her escape the marriage somehow.
Okay.
Step 7, try to escape. She and Enzo meet secretly to discuss getting a passport, an ID, and cash. They hide the materials in 2 separate safe deposit boxes, like to cover their bases.
Okay.
And Andrew discovers both of them.
Great. Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he discovers one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But still.
Not great.
Yeah. He tells her to march up to her attic, but instead she runs to her car and she like takes off. She goes crying to Enzo and he's like, well, plan B is I kill him. Enzo's a real one. I love Enzo.
Okay.
But Andrew has defenses against that. Andrew has told Nina that if he dies for any reason, documents will go to the police accusing Nina of being unstable and conspiring to kill him. Enzo feels really protective of Nina because he had a sister who passed away due to domestic violence. So, and he feels like this is like a way for him to redeem himself because he feels like there was more he could have done with his sister. Exactly. Yep. So that's when an idea hits Nina. Step 8, find a replacement.
Girl.
I think you guys know where we're headed with this.
Okay.
Nina conspires to find a young, attractive woman to replace her. She goes and gets an IUD so that she can't get pregnant on purpose. Okay. Which is very important to Andrew. Andrew wants to conceive, but without his knowledge, she goes and gets an IUD that's not a thing. Then
I have a bit of a quibble with
go ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
Because having had an IUD, sometimes your partner can feel it. But
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because you have to, I mean, there are strings. This is like getting real into it. But there are strings that come out of your cervix. And you have to, like, they're supposed to be there. That's how it's removed when you're done with it. So, but okay.
I wonder I don't know if when this book was written, if they had like the arm
implant. Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But conceiving is very important to Andrew, and it's very important to Nina that she not conceive his child.
Well, obviously,
Gets an IUD.
Okay.
And then she starts looking for a housemaid who is young, attractive, and desperate. And then she finds Millie.
Go. Okay.
She then conspires to be extremely mean to Millie, so that Millie will hate her enough to sleep with her husband.
Fair.
Yeah, she's like, I want to be like that horrible person that makes you feel okay with sleeping with my man.
Yep.
She also does this because Andrew is drawn to women who he sees as being victimized. So she purposely wants to be mean to Millie in front of Andrew to replicate what happened with like her boss previously. That thing will kick in for him.
Yep.
Lastly, she gives them the opportunity to cheat, which is when she's out of town and she knows that they have theater tickets, and she repeatedly reminds Andrew how it's her fault she can't conceive.
Yeah.
This is on me.
Right.
If only she was a younger, attractive woman, if only one of those was around. And voila, it works.
Bam.
He kicks her out and she is finally free.
Nice.
She escapes to the hotel
Nice.
where Enzo meets her. And for the first time, Enzo shows like sexual interest.
Oh, it's like, are they gonna bang too? I mean, why not?
He says he's thought that she was beautiful since the first time he saw her, but he didn't want to overstep his bounds. He's a gentleman.
Yeah, great.
And then they make passionate love. But after they make passionate love, he's like, hey, Nina, we can't just leave Millie in that situation, right? Like, we got you out of it, that's great, but we can't just like abandon her to deal with what you dealt with. And Nina's like,
but why?
Come on. And then he's like, she doesn't deserve this any more than you did. She's like, fine,
I guess.
Then we go to part 3 of the book.
Oh, okay.
We flip back to Millie, who is currently locked in the attic room. Yep. Remember? Mm-hmm. She had just had passionate sex with Andrew.
Because he just couldn't wait.
He couldn't wait.
He had to have her now.
He saw you in that attic and he was like, baby girl, this is where I want you. And yes. Same as Nina, she at first thinks that it's like some sort of accident or misunderstanding. She's like, he must have accidentally locked the door as you do.
Yeah, right.
But then Andrew comes to the door and Millie's like, thank goodness, hun, you're here. You accidentally locked me in here and my phone is missing. And there are 3 textbooks on the floor for some reason. Like, what's happening?
What's going on here? Yeah.
And Andrew's like, hey, do you remember yesterday when you took 3 of my books out of the bookcase and you didn't put them back?
No.
And she's like, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, right. Like, what?
And he's like, well, I need you to balance those 3 textbooks that I left in the room on your stomach while laying down for hours, and then I'll let you out. And for context, these apparently are some very, each one's a very big textbook.
Okay.
She doesn't take him seriously at first. She's like, what are you talking about? But he makes it clear he's not letting her out until she does this. So she eventually does it. And she says, like, this hurts really bad. Like, it's on her abdomen. She can tell that it's going to form a bruise across her whole stomach. However, when she finishes, he comes back an hour later and he tells her to do it again because she stopped 1 minute early. He's like, you were supposed to do it for like this, I think it was like 3 hours or something. And you did it for 2 hours and 59 minutes.
Okay.
So you got to start over. And again, at first she's like, this is insane. But he makes it clear, you're not getting out. So she has to do it again. And it feels like she's been like punched in the stomach for hours.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously now it's been like almost 6 hours. He finally opens the door and he sits next to her on the bed. And she's laying out on the bed. And he comes like in the cot thing in the attic. And he goes up to her and he like sits next to her. And he's like, that same thing he did to Nina.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, you poor thing. There's a trait about Millie that you might have remembered that we were getting like crumbs of earlier in the book.
Yeah.
We saw a glimpse of it when she like threw that glass down and it shattered everywhere. Millie's not like Nina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She got that dog in her.
Mm-hmm. So he finally opens the door and he sits next to her on the bed and she pulls out pepper spray. And pepper sprays him in the face.
Good for her.
Now we rewind a little bit because you're like, where'd she get pepper spray from?
Yes.
He left her in that room, same as Nina, with like 3 little bottles of water in that bucket in the closet to pee in. But when she went to that bucket, there was pepper spray in the bucket.
Oh.
Then we're back to Nina's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
She says part of why she hired Millie was for her criminal record.
Good for her.
She's like, that was a pro, actually.
Yes.
Because it turns out Millie was in prison for murdering a guy who was trying to assault her friend.
She shouldn't have been in prison.
She shouldn't have been. She really shouldn't have been.
Mm-mm.
Apparently, Millie bashed his head in with a paperweight. Mm-hmm.
Well,
and she has a history. She had a history where she pushed a kid off the monkey bars and broke his arm because he called her names. So, like, she has like this history in her past of like handling business.
Mm-hmm.
She also slashed a math teacher's tires for threatening to fail her if she didn't let him feel her up. So, like, the math
deserved
teacher,
it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
And then her latest incident, don't know if you remember, but she had a job right before that she was fired for. That latest incident, the reason she was fired was she punched the bartender because he used to always grope her butt. So she punched the bartender.
He deserved it.
Exactly.
So what's the problem here?
Here's a quote from Nina. She says, "And here's the truth. I initially wanted to hire a maid in hopes that she would become my replacement. And if Andrew fell in love with another woman, he would finally let me go. But that's not why I hired Millie. That's not why I gave her a copy of the key to the room." Because remember, Millie kept asking for it. She's like, fine, I want a key. She did eventually give her a key.
Okay.
And that's not why I left a bottle of pepper spray in the blue bucket in the
Good
closet.
for her.
I hired her to kill him. She just doesn't know it. Yes.
Okay.
Which I still think is unfair to put somebody in that situation.
Yeah.
They don't know that they're part of this bigger game.
Right.
But
I agree.
I understand that things are really hard for Nina.
Yes.
She's got to look out for herself and Cecilia.
Right. There are limited options here.
So then back to Millie's perspective. She pepper sprays Andrew in the face.
Good for her.
She gets his phone. And then she locks him in the room.
Good.
And now it's his turn. Mm-hmm. He's mad and he is yelling. He is demanding that she let him out.
No.
Like with that type of like privileged audacity.
Right. Yes.
Of like, how dare you?
Yes.
She goes downstairs calmly and she eats a sandwich. She's
Good
like,
for
I'm
her.
hungry.
Yeah.
Like, makes a whole sandwich. He's upstairs yelling away.
Carrying on. Yep.
And then she comes up and she makes him balance books on his chest. She's like, you want me to let you out? Those textbooks you made me balance, put them on your chest. Mm-hmm. But because he's bigger than her, that's like too easy for him.
Oh, yeah.
It's not doing the same thing to him that it did to her. So she makes him balance them on his genitals.
Good for her.
3 hours.
Good for her.
When he completes that in agony, she tells him that he misheard her and he needs to do it for 5. She's like, oh, you thought I said 3? I said 5.
Oh, no. Sorry.
And you got to start over, you know?
Yeah.
It's not
that's
cumulative.
The rules.
You got to start over.
Sorry.
Because she's like eating her sandwich through the door.
Yeah.
I think that it should be noted that like Millie didn't go downstairs and call the police.
Right.
Whatever you take that to mean about Millie's personality.
Listen, I'm not mad at it right now.
I'm not mad, but I do think it says a lot about her.
Yeah.
Because like I would have called the police.
Yes.
But
yeah. No, see, what I would have done is like record his tantrum, get some evidence, and then call the police.
That's true.
Because you're not about to make me look like the crazy one.
And I was saying, at this point, she still doesn't have proof the same way Nina didn't really have proof of what just happened here. And he has a lot of money and influence over police, over lots of things. So she makes him do 5 hours with it balanced over here. Mm-hmm. And he completes those 5 overnight, but he's in like really bad shape now, like big bruise across that whole section of him. And when she comes to the door the next morning, he's like, okay, I've done everything. Let me out. But then she passes him some pliers underneath the door. And she's like, I'll let you out, but first you need to pull a tooth.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
And he gets really mad. He's like not having it. He tries to ram the door down with his shoulder, but it's not budging. Mm-hmm. So
he built that room real good.
He did. He built it really good. It's a really sturdy room. And again, she's just on the other side of the door eating her sandwiches, just like, I'm gonna let you out. But slides pliers. I'm gonna need a tooth first. So, screaming in pain, he begins to pull his tooth. Meanwhile, back to Nina. Nina picks Cece up from camp, and she's looking forward to getting away from Andrew. But Enzo calls and tells her Millie hasn't left the house in several days. Even though he's not the gardener, he still like drives by the house to check, and he's like, her car hasn't moved. He convinces her to go check on the house, and she's like, fine, but under the condition that he watches Cece. She's like, my daughter's not going back to that house though. You watch Cece. Okay. I'll go back to the house. I have the key. I'll go check on what's going on over there. Nina arrives at the house, which is like, it's really dark and quiet, and she arrives to the attic door. It's really quiet behind the attic door, but there's light coming from underneath. She assumes Millie's inside. She's like, oh my gosh, he's doing to Millie what he did to me. Oh, I feel so bad. So she opens the door because she still has the key to the lock to rescue her. And in there she finds Andrew.
He dead.
She finds Andrew very dead. He has blood all over his mouth. His shirt, all over his mouth and his shirt. So there's blood like all over him. And he's missing several teeth all over his mouth. Several teeth. So from here, you're supposed to put together the pieces of what happened between him and Millie at that point forward. Millie just kept giving him more and more tasks. Millie was like, nah, I'm going to need another tooth. I'm going to need another one. Millie arrives and she seems a bit like a zombie to Nina. She says that he's been up there for 5 days. Millie's like, yeah, he's been up there for 5 days. How's he doing? Is he okay? And Nina's like, no, Millie, he's not okay. He's
dead.
He's dead. And Millie starts crying and she's like, this is it. They're going to lock me up forever. Like Millie starts kind of having a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And Nina feels really guilty because she's the one who like tricked Millie into killing him. She
Yes.
put Millie into this position with all of the conditions, the
Right.
environmental conditions that would lead to this outcome.
Yes.
So she mentally apologizes to Cece. Nina, like in her head, is like, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to do next, Cece. She tells Millie to go. She's like, this is not your fault. You leave. I'm going to take the blame for this. They'll put me in a mental institution like they did before, but it'll be fine. You go. Because like if it's you, they're gonna put you in jail.
Right.
But with me, they're just gonna put me in the mental institution again. You go. So Millie scrambles out of the house and Nina calls the police. The detective on the scene, might remember the prologue where it was like, oh, when they find what's upstairs, they're gonna take me away. That was from Nina's perspective.
Okay.
So that was Nina being like, once they find him in that attic, I'm going to jail. Yeah. The detective on the scene happens to be the father of a woman named Kathleen. We find out that Kathleen was Andrew's ex-fiance. We got a little glimpse into this earlier in the book, but they didn't like go too heavily into it. Apparently, Andrew used to be engaged to a woman named Kathleen. And the detective says that his daughter was very traumatized after dating Andrew. He never found out why his daughter was traumatized. And she never dated again after that. Like to this day, his daughter Kathleen will not date. Wow. And she never told him what Andrew did. So the detective moved here to where his daughter lived to like learn more about it. Wow. Like, I'm looking into this Andrew guy. He's like the only police officer who Andrew doesn't really have influence over. Yeah. And the detective had heard rumors of how Nina accused Andrew of locking her in the attic and that no one took those rumors seriously. So in solidarity, he gets the death ruled an accident. Damn. He's like, I can't confirm that this is what happened to my daughter, but like, this is what happened. It's feeling like this is what happened. So he gets the death ruled an accident. That he accidentally locked himself in the attic and died of dehydration.
And pulled all his teeth out.
They're ignoring all that. Ignoring all the teeth stuff. All the other stuff about like lower abdomen bruises and missing teeth got ignored. I don't know how the police department works, but I feel like it shouldn't work like this, right? Like while I understand like we're trying to do a good thing here, that shouldn't be something that you can easily disregard in an investigation.
And you're just one guy. Like, okay.
Nina gets off very lucky.
Yeah.
Now at the funeral for Andrew's funeral, Andrew's mother comes up to Nina.
There's always she likes to do shit with mothers.
Yeah, she really does.
All right. Okay.
Frieda, very interesting.
Yeah, you need to talk to somebody. Like, what's going on?
Andrew's mom comes up to Nina and tells her that she heard about the state of Andrew's body when the police found him. The mom's like, I read the police report. I know about the missing teeth. Okay. And the lower abdomen bruises and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is what the mother says. She says, I always told him, she says, how important dental hygiene is. I told him he had to brush every night, and when he didn't, there would be a punishment.
Girl.
There's always a punishment when you break the rules.
See.
What? What is she saying? Evelyn, that's the mother's name. If you don't take care of your teeth, she continues, then you lose the privilege to have teeth. Evelyn? Andy knew that. He knew that was my rule. She lifts her eyes. When I pulled out one of his baby teeth with pliers, I thought he understood. I stare at her, too afraid to speak, too afraid of the next words that will leave her mouth. And when they finally come, it takes my breath away. It's such a shame, she says, that he never really learned. I'm glad you stepped up and taught him a lesson.
What the fuck?
So yeah, the mom is absolutely bonkers as well.
My God.
And you see that's where like
this is all her fault.
Yes.
This is all her fault.
the like punishment aspect comes from the mom. And then the book ends with an epilogue.
Okay.
So in the epilogue, Nina is living happily in California with Cece.
And Enzo? Okay,
no,
sorry.
And not with Enzo.
Okay.
But she highly recommended Millie for another housekeeping job. She comes with high recommendations now.
Okay.
So when Millie arrives at the interview, she notices that the woman interviewing her has a deep purple bruise near her neck that's like in the shape of a hand.
Oh, so you know.
And Millie also sees a picture of this woman's very large husband nearby. Like she sees a picture like on the fridge or something. The woman leans in anxiously and is like, do you think you can help me,
Oh
Millie?
My God, I love that.
And Millie realizes why Nina recommended her for this job. Millie responds, she's like, I think I can.
She's an assassin for
yes!
abusive husband.
She's an assassin for DB.
I love it.
I love it.
Let's go.
That's how book 1 of 3 of the Housemaid series ends.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, yeah, so I'm guessing the rest of the series is her being like this vigilante.
Good for her. Yes. I get why this book is so popular because that is dope.
So good.
I love it.
I'm like, I'm here for it. But at the same time, I feel like there's this underlying brewing thing that's like, Millie.
Yeah, Millie's a little off.
She's off still.
Yeah.
We're just pointing her in the right direction.
Yes.
She's a loose cannon, but we're like pointing her
for
at
now.
a good cause.
For now.
But what if she goes off of that
She goes rogue. Yeah.
Any thoughts along the way?
Oh my god, that was a wild ride.
Yes. You called it about Andrew though. You knew something was off.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a trope in this genre.
Yes. Things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah, and it's always a crazy husband who like seems perfect.
What my theory when I was reading the book is I thought that Andrew had murdered somebody and Nina was aware of the murder and that's what she was holding over his head. Like, you can't leave me because I know how you murdered so-and-so. I was like, she's got to be holding something over him.
Yeah.
I never thought it was that he just keeps her around because he likes torturing people and that's his thing.
See, and again, this was my issue with Behind Closed Doors.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, okay, there was more backstory as to, like, why he does this.
Yeah.
But I don't get enough context for why he enjoys it.
Yes, I agree. The only context we got here is that, like, oh, his mom used to do the same thing.
Right.
But that's not enough of an explanation for me because, like, things can go two ways when it comes to parents. It could be like, I do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Or I lean into it as well.
Right.
I want to know what made him lean into it.
Yeah. Because, like, it's not enough. It's not like he felt compelled to do this because he's just like, oh, this is making you a better person.
Yeah.
No, he was into it.
Yeah.
That's what throws me off here. Because he wasn't remorseful.
There was nothing you could do to avoid the punishment. He'll find a reason to punish you.
Right.
He'll be like, oh, you walked too fast.
Yeah.
Walking's a privilege.
Yes.
Like, he'll find something.
Because as fucked up as it is at the end part where, you know, he's a boy not taking care of his teeth, at least it's not acceptable, but at least
like,
that's
you can link it to something.
link. Yes. There's a reasonable link. Yeah. Even if, like, it's crazy, don't get me wrong, it's crazy. But, like, the air freshener. Like,
he was like, you sprayed too much. So now you have to pepper spray yourself in the eyes. Like, that doesn't even correlate.
That's not, So I have a quibble with these books when it's just like people are just like evil and sadistic for no reason.
I also, for me, I like it when a person gets their just desserts and we get to like him just like dying at the end. Yeah. I kind of wish that it was more than that. Like I wish his reputation was ruined. I wish people knew what he did.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. Because it's great that he's dead because now he can't like hurt other people. Yeah. But still, he could have made it twist the knife a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wonder if books 2 and 3 give us more explanation about these villains.
Yeah.
I'm interested to read them. And
Very
might be doing a review of them next season.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was really good.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, this was my favorite for this season.
Okay.
It had just the right amount of twists and turns.
Yeah.
So it was a really fun read.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thank y'all for joining us for our season finale of season 1. That
was a great send-off.
Yes. Leaves you something to think on. Are you going to go read The Housemaid now? Have you already read it? Did you see it coming? Did you know something was up with Andrew? If so, did you know exactly what it was?
Yeah. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. Since this is our season finale, you know, we want to thank everyone who has joined us for this journey. Anyone who's watched any of our content. Yeah. Thank you to our husbands who are always nearby, just off screen. We're always being very supportive.
Very much so. Yes. Thank
you
everyone.
To our pets, my cat Belle, and
and Raspa,
and her dog Raspa.
Yes. Belle almost made an appearance. I thought she was going to jump up here.
I don't know if y'all heard her. She was complaining a lot. Vocal. So if you heard her, that was Belle. We hope that you join us next season.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
We have been Hotties with the Plotties.
We'll see you later. You've reached the voicemail of Tasha
and Aniqua.
We can't come to the phone right now.
But if you like, comment, subscribe, and click another episode,
we'll be with you shortly.